Terrifying world of LooksMaxxing. Let's do that instead.
Jimmy here, and today I'll teach you 5
We gotta do more fun
tricks
shit
to fill that empty void in your soul. LooksMaxxing. You've probably heard of it if you've been on the internet lately. Bone smashing, mewing, leg lengthening surgery. These days, in 2025, young lads are not out skateboarding and crushing punaan. Instead, they're staying indoors and making themselves really beautiful. Pumping themselves with testosterone, flying out to Poland to get their legs lengthened, and like hitting their cheekbones with a hammer. Am I beautiful yet? And I really kind of want to figure out why are they doing this? And for us to answer this question, we need to explore the evolution of male beauty standards, the evolution of masculinity, the effect all of this stuff is having on young men's mental health, and we need to explore the dark politics at the root of all of this. So today, we will explore LooksMaxxing. So this video for me really starts back in summer, where I got an email from a company called Elite Hair who offered to sponsor me a hair transplant. I was kind of offended because I didn't need one. Look at this bad boy, come on. So what I did, I said I would agree to it if I'm allowed to say whatever I want and talk about the dark side of cosmetic surgery, which they agreed to, and if I can give the hair surgery to a friend that really needs it. Amazingly, they agreed. And so here we must introduce my friend, Alex.
Just that I was suffering from
okay,
hair
that's
loss
pretty
for a
fire.
long time, and I actually made my own TikTok video about it. I was trying to like say, if you have a haircut like this, it can help you look good. And
damn, bro, he's cooking Alex right now. God damn, dude. At least he got a free hair transplant out of it. God damn, though.
and was like, no, it doesn't.
Now, my boy thought he was gonna, give some men inspiration if they're balding. Turned out the post backfired and he just got obliterated in the comments.
Ooh. Bro's barber is a
Comments that were in
salesman.
here, they were pretty mild compared to some of the comments that we will go on to see in the LooksMaxxing forums. So yeah, me and Alex, we headed out to Turkey, and as soon as you arrive, you see this conveyor belt of men, endless men, coming to Istanbul specifically just to get their hair done. And as soon as I saw the scale of this thing, there was one thought in my head, and that was that when I was growing up, when I was younger, it would have been unimaginable for a man to get a hair transplant back in the 2000s. And I'm not talking about the technology. It would have been unimaginable for the simple reason that if you got a hair transplant, all of your male friends would call you gay. If you grew up in the 90s or the 2000s, you'll remember this period of time where everyone would use the word gay as an insult.
Ian, wake up, fat. Judge rolls in 20, so if you want to ride to work, you better get your poop in a group.
Okay, I'll be right down.
No, now, Clay Aiken.
All right.
No, now, homo.
Just give me a minute.
No, now, sissy.
This is a very important phenomena for us in understanding the current obsession.
Dog, back in the 2000s, like it was forever ago. Okay, you want to hear something that's going to break you? The year 2000, for us, born in the 90s, is like the year 1970s. The year 2000 is 26 years away from us right now. As in, for us born in the 90s, it would be akin to thinking about the 60s and 70s, or the 70s and 80s. So when people who are 26 years old right now think about like the 2000s music, for us born in the 90s, it would be like music that you listen to in the 90s. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
With LooksMaxxing. So yeah, young boys growing up in the 90s and the 2000s were growing up in a very weird time because there were some major cultural shifts that were happening. Firstly, there was this big moral panic back in the 80s around gay people due to the AIDS epidemic. Gay people were basically being scapegoated for the spread of this disease. And in 1988 in the UK, there was a law that was passed called Section 28.
Now the rest of the news. The government is to ban the promotion of homosexuality in schools.
I obviously don't want children taught that the gay and lesbian lifestyle is natural or normal. It is not, it never has been, and it never will be.
This law made discussing homosexuality in school illegal. So you couldn't learn about it. You couldn't understand why people were gay or anything about it because the schools weren't allowed to tell you. Another shift that had happened, you know, back in the 70s and 80s was feminism. Women's participation into the workforce was on the increase, and the old male breadwinner identity of the past had been threatened. As well, the 90s was just after the 80s glam rock, gender bending kind of era, where people like Prince and David Bowie were massive figures. I mean, look, Ricky Gervais used to dress like this. It was completely common in the 80s for men to dress like this. And so, yeah, the 90s and the 2000s became this massive cultural backlash, like the pendulum swinging the other way, and resulted in this like cartoonishly hyper masculine culture.
You son of a bitch. What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
I'm talking Rambo, I'm talking WWE, football hooliganism, lads mags. All of these things were basically telling men that, you know, emotions are gay, beauty routines were definitely gay, fashion was gay. Any deviation from like baggy jeans, skate shoes, and a t-shirt, and you would be scolded by the simple act of someone calling you gay. And what the word gay was doing when it was used as an insult was largely used as kind of a way for men to police other men's behaviors. But then things would take a turn with the introduction of metrosexuality.
The rest of the sofa can just relax, because guess who's here? Guess who's here? I'll tell you who's here. Sexiest man alive, ladies and gentlemen. It's official.
Alright, so David fucking Beckham, he rocks up wearing a sarong. The boy's skin glowing, moistured to perfection. Groomed stubble, jewellery, blonde highlights in his hair.
I was asked to shave it off when I first did it. I was sat in the changing room and I had a hat on at the time because Sir Alex Ferguson hadn't seen it. So obviously that was interesting when I took my hat off, and we had an hour before the kickoff and he said, go and shave it off.
Really? I have a same story where I think it might have been literally after he got the mohawk, but I got a mohawk as well. There's a photo of it somewhere out there. Chat has seen it before. But I got a mohawk, and the principal, we would do every Monday morning and every Friday afternoon, we would sing the national anthem in front of the entire school. All of the classes would line up. The principal in front of the entire school said, Hasan, what the f is on top of your head? I had a mohawk. She told me to get back to my house and shave it off, which I did. Another experimental thing I did was also when I shaved a racing line to the side of my head. That was another experimental moment that I had. No, called you out in front of everyone? Yeah, no, I got called out in front of every single person before the Pledge of Allegiance, not even the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem was sung. There it is. There's an even worse photo out there with me doing the with the mohawk too. Also, this fit goes kind of hard, huh? That's what I look like. I think this was like 7th grade or 8th grade or something. Is it this pic? No, that's not. That's the man bun era. Also another experimental phase that was bullshit. Made worse by the fact that I was so broke I had to shave my own head until it grew into a man bun. Okay, yeah. None of you want to experiment. Shut the f*** up.
Like, the boy was pushing boundaries, right? And the thing is, ladies loved him.
Let me just show you this picture. Do you feel shy here?
He was literally married to Posh Spice, a major female celebrity. And for young boys, right, imagine what this was doing to their head. They're being told that they're only allowed to dress like a Tony Hawk's NPC, but increasingly male celebrities were looking more and more feminine. I mean, if you contrast David Beckham, Orlando Bloom, Jared Leto against Sylvester Stallone, Vin Diesel, Arnold Schwarzenegger, clearly a contradiction was emerging. Next thing you know, it's 2010s, and if you're not wearing skinny jeans, squeezing your muscles into a tight Fred Perry, or you weren't getting your weekly skin fade or your nice tight top knot, all of a sudden, now you are the weird one. And like, I think that's interesting, right? How quickly, you know, traditional masculine roles changed in such a period of time. And maybe it's good that men were allowed to explore this stuff, but there was definitely one group of people that this was particularly good for: the beauty industry.
Men are getting prettier. The era of highlighting masculine macho beauty has faded, and now gonminam, or pretty-faced men, are at center of the new fad for makeup.
The male beauty industry has exploded in recent years. I couldn't even find data on it back in like the 90s and the 2000s. That's how small it was. It went from being valued at 17.5 billion in 2015 to 202.6 billion in 2022. And that was the big thing I noticed at the Elite Hair Clinic, was that honestly, from what I saw, it was like 90% men. And it's not that they don't offer stuff for women like they did, and you do see women there, but clearly men getting hair transplants has become like a core demographic. And that shocked me, because if you travel back 20 to 25 years ago, the beauty industry was entirely aimed at women. You know, women were the ones being tortured by the magazines, you know, Cosmo, Glamour, Heat. Like, the stuff they would say to women was cruel. Like, they were being forced to be like super thin, to be like a size 0. For a period of time, they were being told that they need to chase the heroin chic and try and lose so much weight that you get like a thigh gap. And that's what the magazines did, right? They would shame women and force them to pursue like an unrealistic beauty standard. Why? So that they could sell them shit.
If you scroll through the hashtag self-care on TikTok, you'll see countless videos of women hoarding skincare products and indulging in beauty maintenance services. In the age of social media, consumerism has hijacked the concept of self-care, reducing it to products and services geared towards external validation.
But now, right, from like the mid-2010s onward, for the first time in like modern history, we were seeing these same marketing strategies being used on men.
To answer the question, which is why is it that, you know, young men and women continue to sacrifice parts of their lives in order to get more and more and more and more, I think it's because, aside of the immediate financial relief, consumerism is built. I mean, you've spoken about this. Consumerism is built on a sense of inadequacy.
But look, it wasn't just the potential to sell beauty products to men that would give rise to what has now become LooksMaxxing. There were other things that were happening in the background that was creating a deeper insecurity in young men. According to a 2024 UK report, fewer and fewer young people are having sex or having relationships compared to past decades. Almost half of American Gen Z men report having zero romantic experience in their teens. And a lot of this can really directly be tied to the post-2010s decrease in what is called third places. Third places being just, you know, communal places outside of your home and your work. Places that you can just hang out, socialize. They have been shutting down at an alarming rate, and you can see it in the data. And like, it's kind of obvious, right? If it costs you like £100 to leave your house to get some food, some beer, and do some activity, well, if you have a generation of young people that are making less and less money as prices are going up to do activities, doom scrolling TikTok LooksMaxxing videos and swiping on Tinder, well, that's for free. Increasingly, the online world becomes the new third place. And like, there's a lot to blame about the dating apps, but really the dating apps are a solution to the material problem of a shrinking social life, a lack of free time and a lack of disposable income. But the thing is about the apps is basically everyone hates them. Most dating app users report feeling emotionally exhausted from them. And that's because when romance becomes algorithmic and placed on a platform, that platform becomes a hyper-competitive marketplace. And in this new modern marketplace, there would of course be a new form of currency: sexual capital.
Knew I wasn't a bad-looking guy, but I hadn't been on a date in 1,042 days. I sought to find the blueprint for dating apps. I got so many matches that I started scheduling dates every single day and ended up going on 30 dates in 30 days.
Now look, online dating is very different to dating in real life. Real world feedback from, you know, trying to talk to someone you like, it works out sometimes, it doesn't sometimes. That feedback is quite literally the thing that shapes one's personality and one's confidence. You know, perhaps you're an average looking guy and you go to a house party and you're a bit nervous, you're a bit awkward, and then you have a couple of beers, you relax, you crack a banger of a joke, you make some cute girl laugh, and you score a little kiss on the cheek. You might have been a nervous wreck when you entered that house party, but now you're walking home home like fucking Billy Big Bollocks. But when that real life experience disappears, but you still live in a society that the magazines, the films, the television endlessly glorify celebrity men and which beautiful woman they're with, in a culture that is deeply obsessed with your status, with wealth, with power, young men continuously get fed a message that unless you are attractive to beautiful women, then you're a loser, a virgin. And what's more, on top of that, and arguably more important to young men, is that if you are a loser, other men won't consider you a real man. So yeah, think about it, right? What if you are one of these young, awkward, nerdy boys, which is kind of most boys, and maybe you haven't found yourself yet, or you might not have found people that are similar to you? Well, these young lads increasingly start finding solace in online communities. Communities that create entire ideologies and theories around why a girl hasn't spoken to you yet.
They're mostly young men, usually virgins, who blame women and attractive guys for why they aren't in a relationship or having sex.
And if your only experience of talking to women is on Tinder, where your entire personality is compressed into a few images, measured by an algorithm, and ranked amongst millions of other men, in that environment, a new kind of pseudo-scientific religious cult built around facial structures, height, jawlines, and evolutionary biology is formed. And the umbrella term for this world is, of course, the manosphere.
Lately, I've been hitting the old doom swipies over here, and my mangorithm has introduced me to all sorts of new alpha friends, a wide world of podcasters and social media influencers and roided out man cubes that comprise the media landscape that has been dubbed the manosphere.
The manosphere is a broad term that covers different philosophies, some of them much more extreme than others. But there is a increasingly popular theory in the manosphere, and that is this belief that women are naturally hypergamous, meaning that they are biologically hardwired to only want the top men. And they come up with like rules.
He's in the pocket on this issue. This is an issue that I talk about all the time as well. Partially because just like Jimmy, I have extensive experience with this, being a young man back in the day, now a long time ago, at least 2 decades ago, almost. But yeah, that's, he's dialed in. This is a great video.
Right, they call it the 80-20 rule.
Dog, you were a douche fat, bro. You're not one of us, /sarcasm. That was when I was in my early 20s too. Like I'm talking even before that, even younger.
Idea that 80% of women only want the top 20% of men.
Also, look, I can still be one. Are you ready? What's up? Here, let me take these off too. I have to squint like this because I can't see. Now you're Nick Merckx? Yeah.
In looks, status, and money. And they believe that women are biologically incapable of loving average-looking men.
As a high-value woman, before you say to that man you can have a day off and you're allowed to be sad today, you will only even acknowledge he exists if he's ignored how he feels 99% of the time before that. Because if he was sad most of the time before that, he never would have got to a place where he could attract a woman like you.
So where the fuck did they get this idea from, right? Well, there was some data that came from dating apps where it showed roughly 80% of women selected only 20% of the men. And this is one of those things where if you read that, it might sound scientific until you actually look at it. On apps like Tinder, right, men massively outnumber women. According to a 2025 summary of app usage data, globally, around about 75% of Tinder users identify as being men, whilst 25% identify as female. And if you were to maybe ask a woman, why don't you use Tinder as much as men do? Well, they might tell you that there's some very creepy men on those platforms.
Terry, 73. I'm old, ugly, and horny, and I love eating smooth young. My favorite is 69, although I also love Cowgirl because I get to maul those gorgeous melons. Also, I love Doggy.
So, most women go on Tinder and very quickly get overwhelmed. Most leave. And it might surprise you, right? Because in this environment, women have the pick of the litter and they might swipe and pick the best looking men more. But shockingly, this doesn't result in better quality relationships that they report being more satisfied with. Quite the opposite. According to data, relationships that are formed online tend to report less satisfaction than those relationships that are made in real life. It's almost as if women value things more than just good looks. But of course, that would require talking to a real life woman. And in the world of the manosphere, that's a big no-no.
Females who have been emotionally manipulated try and manipulate the men won't listen. That will make the female have more respect for the man. The frame will change. The female's mind will start to naturally align with the worldview of the male.
And like, man, I cannot explain how untrue hypergamy is in women. There is endless data showing that 81% of men and 86% of women will marry by the age of 40. If it's 80-20, the maths ain't working. And increasingly, women are actually dating down. More women are dating men with lower levels of education than them. As well, increasingly, men and women are earning similar-ish wages. But you know, data aside, that hasn't stopped a whole world of LooksMaxx creators, from people like Face IQ, Wheat Waffles, Austin Wayne, Clavicular, amassing big audiences in which a lot of their content focuses around hyper-analyzing men's faces, showing how much attention they get as a good-looking white tall guy in an Asian country, and then selling height growth pills in the description. Clavicular talking about taking testosterone since the age of 14, as well as taking meth to suppress his diet.
What drugs do you take in a day? I'm taking testosterone every single day. Take 7.5 milligrams of Accutane a day. I use crystal for Hello Cheeks. I'm not a huge longevity guy.
Now, look.
That hat backwards is Loki sending me. Can I get a whiff, sir? Wait, do people get turned on by the backwards hat? I thought I looked like a clown. Should I be backwards hatting it more often? Like, some of you just want. I'm 34, man. It's crazy.
LooksMaxxing, you know, to some degree or another has kind of always been around. However, it has been massively boosted lately, and there is a reason why. The red pill.
Right? When a nerd comes to me and goes, I'm a total nerd, I want to learn game. I'm like, bro, you need to learn more than game. Because you look like a bitch. My girlfriend would beat the
The red pill shit really popped off around 2021, 2022 with the rise of Andrew Tate, and you had their sort of lackeys, Fresh and Fit, Sneeko, and their whole, you know, kind of general sales pitch was that you need to be an alpha man. An alpha man is someone who wears tight-fitted, muscular t-shirts, who poses in pictures looking tough, buying fast cars to impress other men online, whilst treating women like shit and talking down on them like they're children. Now, these lot, they were massive for a period of time, but they have heavily fallen off lately. And the whole thing didn't just disappear.
God.
Instead, they got replaced by people like Clavicular.
I use crystal.
So yeah, the red pill's messaging was kind of things like eat healthy, go to the gym, become rich, and obviously treat women like inferiors. And actually, this form itself was also an evolution of the very original pickup artist. The really early lot used to teach guys that it was all about psychological tricks and clever lines that you have to say to trick women into thinking that you were not a loser. So yeah, LooksMaxxing is the current evolution of the previous Andrew Tate red pill ideology. And it makes sense, right? Because presumably, you know, young, nerdy, awkward guys, after going to the gym a few times, probably realized that they weren't going to get a Bugatti anytime soon. And just wearing sunglasses indoors and doing this thing with your hands, it's probably not going to score like a Minecraft kid some super.
You have the same PSL score as Tom
Pete,
Wilson.
how come you didn't tell me
Superman actor and new LooksMaxx
how you felt
icon.
about Chloe?
I'm her daddy. I don't even
It's not like I ever had a chance with her. What would make you say that? Because I'm always standing next to you.
She called me daddy. I don't even know her mama.
There is 0% chance my PSL score is almost this high. That's crazy.
Dolce, Gabbana, Louis, Gucci, Fendi, Prada, design with no strings attached like.
He's so much hotter than me. That's not even a question. Aren't you taller? Probably, but that doesn't mean shit. Don't worry, it's all fake. I mean, I don't worry about this stuff at all.
Wife. So LooksMaxxing.
You want to know why I don't worry about this stuff at all? Because I'm 34 years old and I already have confidence, which can only come from within. If you don't have confidence, then you lean into this kind of stuff. You lean into like the way people perceive you. And that's kind of what I always try to explain to people. Like, self-reliance and confidence is the key. Okay. And you can achieve it by improving yourself. You can achieve it by improving the way you look, grooming yourself better, figuring out what kind of haircut works, figuring out what kind of beard works in your face, like figuring out what kind of clothes work with your body. All this stuff will be helpful, but ultimately, if it just stays at external validation, you won't actually have any confidence. But the process in which you transform yourself into the 7 that I know you can be is the process where you will develop confidence, because once you start achieving the goals that you set for yourself, you start believing in yourself. Yes, you need the shower.
Probably spawned somewhere in like the early 2010s. There was a website called puahate.com. Surprisingly, PUA Hate, which stands for Pickup Artistry Hate, was not in fact a website created by feminists to critique the objectification of women, but instead it was created by men critiquing the effectiveness of pickup artistry. These lot, right, who were going on PUA Hate, they considered pickup artistry a scam. They didn't buy the whole advice that you could just be more confident and that will get you women. They started to believe that attractiveness was biologically hardwired into you.
I think that every woman who encounters me on the street is inherently disgusted by me. I'm physically unattractive, I'm visibly autistic, and I have no experience speaking to females. There is most likely not a single female on the planet that would be willing to date me.
So yeah, it was somewhere around the 2010s where we start to see the rise of incels, involuntary celibates. Guys who believed that they were so biologically unattractive that they were destined to be celibate for their entire life. This is often referred to as the black pill. The black pill accepted that there was no such thing as self-improvement. You are born as you are, and nothing can be done to improve your dating outcomes. But LooksMaxxers, right? They were like a slight deviation of that style of thinking. Because whilst they believed the general premise of the black pill, that looks matter more than anything else, and that women are hypergamous pieces of shit, they, however, believed you could make improvements, but not to your personality, friend. No, to your face.
By looking good, they're going to assume that you get paid better, you're cooler, you're funnier. I was teased for certain things like my skin, my eye bags. Was I able to improve these things? Yes. Did it help my life? Yes. There are other things that you could do that are quite effective, that you could do today, tomorrow, this week to get remedial.
Well, oh yeah, I saw this. It's so funny that no one can apparently write a hit piece on Hasan the Hun without also calling him handsome along the way. Jewish Insider asked podcasters to comment on the comments of another podcaster and wrote an article about them not commenting. From Jewish Insider, Johnson also pointed to an issue with what he termed the Democratic staffer class, where the median Democratic staffer is so progressive they have no punching left rule, especially when someone like Hasan is attractive and has a large audience. As Piker's ideology remains largely unchecked by progressive lawmakers and activists, other critics warned that the left's acquiescence to his troubling views has already hurt its ability to meaningfully counter growing hostility to Jews in Israel from the far right. Hasan Piker is a Tucker Carlson of the progressive left, just dumber and better looking. Jamie Kirchick, an author and commentator who frequently writes about Israel and Jewish issues, told Jewish Insider. As long as figures like Kana, Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, and Markey pal around with him, they forfeit any credibility attacking the new right's vile anti-Semitism. Rude Lamafea, I mean, I don't give a what any Israel dick writer says about my level of intellect. And for the record, I would rather be the dumbest person on the planet than be someone who defends Israel, okay? I'd rather be dumb with a heart than present an intelligent person on camera and lack consciousness. What? You have to check out this TikTok from one of those guys real quick?
So 5'8", this not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You know, you like my little sister.
Nobody wants to say it, but heightism might actually be worse than racism. You see,
oh, hell no. Who can forget when people under 5'6", men under 5'6", were not allowed to drink from the same water fountains as men over 5'6". God damn, bro. That is crazy. This has 273,000 likes, bro. Holy wait, that's why they have 2 drinking fountains. That's why they have the shorter drinking fountain. Oh my God, I didn't realize. Heightism. Roller coaster rides and 2 separate heights for 2 separate drinking fountains. That's what it was. Is height segregation. Of course, I'm a tall, so I don't even know. Common Syrian L. This guy, I want to like this guy, but he's just so insane.
racism is socially condemned. You say something racist, you lose your job, your reputation, your platform, etc.
Yeah, except no. You say something racist, you fundraise $1.5 million. Okay. So I wish this was still the meta. It's no longer the meta. You say something racist, they give you your job back as a government prosecutor. One of the immigration prosecutors the government has literally posted Adolf Hitler in a positive manner, and they quietly brought his job back. They quietly were like, yeah, we'll investigate this. And then now he's a government prosecutor again. One of the largest content creators on this platform just spews bile on a daily basis and has a legion of toxic ass fans.
Society punishes you, but mock someone for their height, that's not condemned. It's actually normalized. It's entertainment.
Yeah. I wonder why. Like, here, I'll flip the script, okay? This guy would probably never make this argument, even though you can make the exact same argument about fat shaming, okay? Can you imagine if someone were to make a video about fat shaming being just as bad as racism, or if not worse than racism? What do you think this guy would say? What do you think? You lack the credibility to talk on this issue, Tolly. Fatism is worse than racism. If you made a video about fat shaming, this dude would lose his mind. And no, I know that people can lose weight, but they can't add inches to their height. I know. The point is not whether or not there is a change, whether or not this is a factor that is in your control. The point is making fun of someone being fat or making fun of someone being short is just making you a bully, but it doesn't have any sort of attachment to systemic forms of oppression. It does not. Because your height or your weight can change the way people perceive you, but it doesn't actually genuinely cause real systemic discrimination in the way that racism did and still does to this day. Ain't no cop is pulling you over and being like, oh, you're fat, you're going to prison, okay? Oh, you're short, jail for you, shorty. Like, there are so many. You didn't get redlined on the basis of being fat or on the basis of being short, okay? Come on, guys, wake up. Yeah, doctors are like, hey, sorry, we can't. I don't want to treat you because you're too short. Yes, fat phobia has its own systemic oppression, though. I know. Okay. Yes, there are different points of discrimination on the basis of being short and on the basis of being fat, and there's validity to these arguments. But comparing it to racism is insane. Hello. Ain't nobody was enslaved for being short for 400 years, and if their kids were also short, because, you know, that carries on genetically, then they were slaves too? Really? That's the argument that we're making here? Yeah, I'm enslaving the fatties is not a principle that ever existed. Bro hasn't heard of Oompa Loompas. You're a tall. Your opinion is invalid, to be honest. Okay. Yeah, they should ask a question to a fat black person. What do you think is a worse form of discrimination in society in modern day and age? Being fat or being black? Exactly. There's like a famous quote about this. You know, you can be queer presenting, and you can be black. There is definitely levels to this in terms of discrimination, systemic discrimination. Or a short black person, ask them that too. A mix of both, not gonna lie. Come on, man. Yeah, the American government. Who could forget when the American government did the move bombing on a fat family for being short and fat, when they dropped C4 out of a helicopter, and then the police chief said, "Nah, keep the block burning." And then they took the bones of the short and fat people that they killed, and they distributed amongst different college campuses until like literally 5 years ago, when they returned the bones of the short and the fat people. Who can forget that? Like, even in terms of you know, skin color, who could forget that we have an entire brigade called ICE that is basically stopping people on the basis of being short and also on the basis of being fat? Do you understand how stupid this argument is? I'm really stressing it to the best of my ability. I'm trying to make people really understand how stupid this is. I don't know. It's on. I'm 6'3", 240 pounds and black. And I remember working security a couple years back at high school in LA. There was this kid that was 6'7", and I would have to respect his height when he was around. There are rules. Okay. Yeah, they're stopping Mexicans for being short, dude. That's what they were doing this whole time. Yeah. Sorry, we have to deport you because you're fat. Or sorry, we have to deport you because you're short. No more shorties. We need tallies only. What the f?
Payment, it's a preference.
Liar.
How am I a liar?
6'5" is a lie.
You gotta round up.
Round it up heavy.
No, I didn't. 6'5". I'm
6'4". Exactly.
And the irony is, height is 95% genetic. You can't train it, manifest it, or grind for it. No amount of effort is going to change your bone length. Only about 15% of men are 6 feet or taller, yet somehow that becomes the baseline nowadays. It's so bad that even talking about someone's weight is considered more offensive than mentioning their height, especially when it comes to women, right? And that's something that you can control. I just find it hilarious that this double, actually triple standard still exists till this day.
Heightism might be actually worse than racism. Our brains are shrinking. You both make good arguments. Man, shut the fuck up. No, we don't both make good arguments. I am standing directly in opposition to this argument. There is no world where both of us are making good arguments. You basically just said, hey, I see you, I hear you, you're being very reasonable, but also I'm 5'6". That's all you said to me with that statement, okay? Shut the fuck up. Listen, guys, I'm not one of these people that's going to be a silly Billy and tell you, like, oh, it doesn't matter at all. Women don't look at that stuff at all. Of course they do. It's a hurdle, but it's one that you can climb, okay? It just gives you a worse starting position overall. And there are still plenty of people who don't give a shit about it regardless. But ultimately, it's absolutely something that does not lock you in to into a different category unless you make it the number one factor in your personality. It's that simple. Yes, for all the shorties. That's why I always say you can be a manlet or you can be a short king, but it's entirely up to you to choose which path you might take. That's it. Where's the equity, Hasan? Oh my God. Motherfucker being like, yo, motherfucker making the argument, yo, you said you claim to be a socialist and here you are hoarding all the height for yourself. The dating pool is smaller for sure. No. You want to know why that doesn't even matter? Because we're talking about such a ginormous dating pool that, like, even if you shave a little bit off the top, you haven't even gotten anywhere close to penetrating this ginormous sea of possible suitors. I usually agree with you, Hasan, but fawn girls have no right in these discussions. I really don't know why you high tops like to dig into your vertically limited lives. Dig into our vertically limited lives. The only thing bean poles like you are good for is opening covers and giving uppies to us on the ground down here fighting the real fight. I heard Mao was 5'5". No, Mao was tall as f***. He's like my height. Mao was actually like 6'3" or 6'4" or some shit. I mean, he might have even been taller. Deng Xiaoping, on the other hand, he was a shorty. That's the Hunanese you're talking about. A Hunan man. A real fighter. We must put the shorties to work in the chocolate factory. You fail to realize that all the world leaders are tall and oppress the short. Brother, Vladimir Putin is like 5'3", okay? What's up? I don't know how tall Xi Jinping is. Is he tall? Mao is 5'11", Lamau. Okay, then his statue gave him a bunch of inches. Height difference of different dictators. These measurements are not completely accurate. Dictators, and then it's Fidel Castro, Mao Zedong, Xi Jinping, Raul Castro, Kim Il Sung. Like the first, dude, come on, dude. Come on. Oh, when I think of dictators, I think Fidel Castro. What the f are you saying? Adolf Hitler, 5'7". Tito? They put Tito in there? I'm noticing a pattern here where there's very few right-wing dictators on this list. Lenin was 5'4". That's my goat of all goats. Look at that. It's by height, you idiot. Yeah, really? So Pinochet was 5'2", and that's why he didn't make the cut? Is that the argument you're making? Or is this an idiotic subreddit that thinks like every leftist leader was a dictator and perhaps way worse than anyone on the right ever could have been? Motherfucker said Lenin was a dictator, bro. What are we doing here? Are you serious? He said Fidel Castro's a dictator. Lenin's a dictator. Mao Zedong, once again, compelling figure overall. What was it? What's the quote? If Mao Zedong had passed away in like 1964, if he had passed away right before the Cultural Revolution, he would have been known as an incredible legend. If he passed away 1 year into the Cultural Revolution, he would have still been seen as like a profoundly positive force. But he unfortunately passed away after, something like that. Had Mao died in 1956, his achievements would have been immortal. Had he died in 1966, he would have still been a great man but flawed. But he died in 1976. Alas, what can one say?
Results.
Now, yeah, LooksMaxxing, it gets pretty extreme. And while some lads might take it with a pinch of salt, just, get a good skincare routine and go to the gym and get a haircut, others might find themselves going deeper into this online world, where they surround themselves with fellow LooksMaxxers who become increasingly obsessive, increasingly nihilistic, and increasingly harsh and abusive to each other. And I do really want to be clear here. Not every single layer of men's self-help is the extreme toxic form. The simple advice of go to the gym, be healthy, dress well, join social groups of people with similar interests, get a hobby, develop your personality, and importantly, speak to women. No, God! No! It's pretty good advice. But that's the thing, there's this old expression which is, once you get the message, hang up the phone. Because the problem, right, with that very simple message is, it's all nice and all, that's great, yeah, do all the things, but my name's GigaChad Jimmy69 and I want to sell you some shit. And so we see this really interesting thing, right, that is referred to, like in general business, as market incentive escalation and differentiation pressure. So what you see, right, is as those original self-help guys that tell you to go to a gym and, get a hobby, as that market of, creators get saturated, over time, there is a market pressure to become more extreme in order to differentiate yourselves from your competitors and to sell new products. So if in the early days the obvious products was to make, I don't know, video courses and maybe even teach people, go coaching people to talk to women, well, the potential market for that is small and eventually will become saturated. But if you think about it, the customer base for maybe height growth pills, jaw strengthening machines, where you can live stream this on TikTok and have a shop running, that market is way, way bigger and less saturated. And eventually you find yourself in Poland getting leg lengthening surgery.
New at 6, people all over the world are enamored by a Riverdale man. He just returned from Turkey.
This is one of the craziest things, by the way, the leg strengthening. It's like there are very, very few people that get this surgery and actually can like continue walking without a crutch for the rest of their lives. It is one of the dumbest things you can do.
Where he had surgery to grow from 5'5" to 6 feet tall.
Wow. I wanted to become the best version of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And for me, that included height.
So in order to bamboozle young men into doing insanely stupid shit to make themselves better looking, these LooksMaxxers have to create a comprehensive sales pitch, complete with pseudoscience and jargon. And so they created something cool.
This is a myth. It's not about height. It's about testosterone inhibiting growth. A lot of dudes over 6 foot have lower T levels than short men on average. This isn't a meme. There's even treatments where taller men will take large doses of testosterone to keep them from growing. Why would you want to be not taller? I'm so confused. High testosterone stunts your height growth? As a short woman, I can't even tell if guys are short or tall because they're all taller than me. Yeah, there's also that. You mean like gigantism or something? Bro, your heightism is insane. Okay, shut up. Only tall people are obsessed with height IRL. I have actually had the exact opposite experience where I don't recognize how tall I am until we're talking about height and then everyone yells at me. Or even like, I don't know how tall I am because I'm just taller than everybody else usually. So whenever the only time I ever realize what I look like is when I get photographed, around others. And then I look back at the photo, I'm like, that's gross. I look like that? That's disgusting. That's how I feel, at least. I know people won't believe me. Nice sob story, taller. I know.
the PSL scale. PSL stands for PUA hate, slut hate, and lookism, which is like racism for looks. The PSL ranks men from...
Yes, I've had body consciousness issues in the past due to not just height, but due to being fat for the most part, but height as well. The answer to this is simple. Would I rather be shorter or the same height? And my answer is I would rather be my height. Like, I'm happy with my height. Would I be shorter or taller? I think ultimately I'm still happy with my height. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm taller or not. But ultimately, I mean, that in and of itself proves the argument, right? Like, at least from my perspective, which is that I am fortunate. Like, I get it. I'm fortunate. I understand that. Stop virtue signaling, shaking my head. If I was virtue signaling, I would say I would rather be shorter than taller. My point is, there are, I guess, issues that you don't really consider when you're taller, like higher likelihood of getting cancer, shorter lifespans in general, okay? Not being able to fit into places, a society that's not designed for your height. But none of that matters. It's not bad enough to want to be shorter. You're also perceived differently. Bro, you're reading off Google right now. What? Google? Problems with being tall. Yeah, I got Google highlight issues about being tall and not the 34 years that I've lived on this planet. Performative beanpole. Reverse heightism doesn't exist. No, I'm not saying it does. Heightism doesn't exist. Shut the fuck up. Like, there's people perceive you differently if you're shorter, for sure. I'm not going to say that's not the case, I guess, but it's a hurdle that you can clear, okay? Remember, just like it's not bad with wanting a smaller dick, I've never met a man that said, I wish I had a smaller dick, okay?
Subhuman at the bottom, all the way to Giga Chad at the top. Yeah, the Giga Chad is a mythical being whose jawline is so sharp that he could make a woman faint just at the mere sight of it. And these lot, with their PSL scale, they have this hyper obsession over a very specific type of male beauty. I mean, they rate Ryan Gosling 5.5 out of 10. I mean, what the fuck?
Damn.
And this right here is...
Damn, AdSense came after my boy's ass, dude. He had to mute the shit out of that.
What they believe Ryan Gosling should look like.
And while facial edits often do look uncanny...
Bro, he looks like shit. That's so awesome. God, the lookism guys are so funny, dude. Oh my God.
Here's a concept of what Gosling might look like at an 8 out of 10. We can see his jaw gets more proportionate.
Yeah, he looks so much better. Thank you, dude. Thank you. He looks so much hotter, bro. You got it.
And robust. His chin shape is fixed. His eyebrows are fixed. His eye positioning is improved. His canthal tilt's improved.
He's fixed.
And all these factors contribute to a more harmonious face.
And the presentation and delivery of this message is as if this is objective science. And as I say, you're a young man, you hear all this scientific jargon with diagrams, arrows, ratio charts, face grids, and weird little measurements with names like your canthal tilt, your mandibular plane angle, your bysgmatic width. And so yeah, once you've accepted this religion and the belief that every single detail of your face determines your entire worth as a human, the next step is obvious. Fix it, you ugly prick. Now you're mewing, right? Tongue posture, where your tongue sits in the roof of your mouth. If it's there, it will remodel your skull and make you beautiful. Mewing was invented by this insane guy and is obviously completely rejected by established science. There's no evidence that this works for adults or teenagers.
Yeah, you know what the funniest thing is? The reason why those LooksMaxxing things, I guess, like the success stories work, is because so many of them are like 14 years old and then they get to 16. Or if they're 16 years old and they get to 18. Half of the people that think that this LooksMaxxing shit works on them are just going through puberty. That's genuinely a big part of it, especially because the target audience is like very insecure and very hormonal teenage men. And there's good stuff in there too, obviously. Like the good stuff is, you know, doing things like figuring out what kind of skincare products work for your face and work for your composition, all the stuff like that stuff is good. but it can very quickly, turn into an unhealthy thing. And it often does for many people. Self-improvement is something that I am firmly committed to, something that I believe, something that I urge others to engage in. Teenage boys, not men. They're not adults. Please correct it. What? Okay, whatever, dude. Calm down. You know. Yes, teenage boys, not teenage men. My bad. Okay, Jesus Christ.
Obviously, that's what big feminism wants you to think. You know, mewing, it's fine, mostly harmless. But then, yeah, you do end up getting lads who go and get their faces cut up because some random mod on Discord told them that their maxilla is negatively rotated. And the thing is, man, these people in the forums kind of sound like experts. They have very hyper-specific knowledge on surgeries and parts of the face, knowing the names of procedures and where you can get it done, what medicines you need. And it's this, the very invasive, forms of surgery, etc., that would be called hard maxing.
By the end of this lecture, you're going to have a completely new understanding of which hard maxing surgeries are actually worth considering and which ones are better left alone.
No.
That is the medical intervention. And in a sense, Alex getting his hair done is arguably a form of hard maxing. It kind of depends on the context, really. If you consider yourself a LooksMaxxer trying to improve your PSL score by 2, what the fuck am I saying? What is my job? And I can't lie, when I was at the Elite Hair Clinic, I didn't think that people looked like LooksMaxxers. Maybe some of them were, but mainly they were in their 30s to 40s. And I would say a LooksMaxxer is probably someone very young or in their early 20s. And I think this also helps reiterate that this obviously all lies on a spectrum, similar to self-improvement. There are some truths. Obviously, good-looking people probably find life a bit easier, but there is also a ton of bullshit mixed in. And myself, I go to the gym. I try and dress okay when I wanna. I get haircuts. But I guess, in a way, I have also done some hard maxing myself. I got my teeth whitened. I kind of always wanted to get them whitened. I don't know why, I just did. And partly, maybe it was to improve my confidence. And also, dare I say it, I've even done the Botox, where you try and get rid of wrinkles in your head to keep your skin young as you get older. And I can't lie, if I was balding, I probably would get a hair transplant. And when I saw Alex getting it and him sort of explaining why he wanted it, it kind of made sense, It would make him feel more confident. I get it. If you could afford it, if it's safe, why not? But I do notice, and I do believe that this stuff can really be a slippery slope.
Never hard max in public. For hair transplants, it's highly recommended you wait till 25 the earliest, and you are recommended to try minoxidil and or finasteride first before doing it. So it makes sense that most people at a hair clinic would be 30s and 40s. Yeah, I mean, I did minoxidil and finasteride, and I still do, obviously. And if it wasn't for minoxidil and finasteride, I probably would have needed a hair transplant, I suspect, because my hair was thinning out in the front. And I'm fine now, even though people constantly say you're balding or whatever every now and then. Yeah, I mean, I have a more mature hairline. When I was younger, this part that is no longer there was connected, right? And even younger than that, I had a 3-head. I basically had a 2-head or a 3-head. I've done some LooksMaxxing as well.
You have to have your head in a relatively healthy place. And that is what, in my opinion, a lot of these LooksMaxxers are doing. They are pursuing improving themselves aesthetically in an obsessive, unhealthy manner. They are hinging their entire self-worth on improving their face. That is insane. So yeah, to do my part of the brand deal, link in description. Contractually, I'm allowed to say whatever I want. I could slag them off if I want to. So that is my honest opinion on them. So yeah, if you were looking to get a hair transplant, I would thoroughly recommend Elite Hair Clinic. Professional, they're safe, reputable. Drop the links below. And Alex seems to be quite happy that he got it.
Surgery completed. It was great.
In the past, we have seen many, Hollywood actresses and actors, singers as well, who have completely ruined their face pursuing obsessive cosmetic surgery. So really, this isn't a new phenomenon. It has been around a while. But what does seem to be new is the fact that young men who in the past rarely gave a how they looked are increasingly getting into.
What a dumb video. I bet people were saying the same things about hair transplants when that came out. Brother, I don't think you can compare hair transplants to jaw-breaking surgeries and stuff like that. There's definitely levels to this. Here, one example, a surgery that's very commonplace is rhinoplasty, right? And a lot of people do it and it makes them very happy and they're super fond of it. But just because rhinoplasty has a very high success rate doesn't mean that you can look like a Bogdanov twin after doing a whole bunch of different surgeries. There are less invasive and much more successful surgeries, and there's levels to it. And that's the reason why I'm saying, like, there's a difference between like doing a hair transplant surgery versus whatever the half of these dudes do, which is straight up breaking their jaw, cutting it up, and then like pushing them apart so you have a wider jawline.
Do this stuff. And it was weird, I can't lie, seeing Alex's hair follicles being attached to his skull. But at least it seems safe and professional. These LooksMaxxers are going on Reddit and getting pseudo-scientific advice, just literally inventing shit with no medical evidence, such as bone smashing. Bone smashing, as the name suggests, implies hitting your face with a blunt metal object, you know, like a hammer, in order to create micro fractures in like your cheekbones, where supposedly they will heal back together bigger. And it's probably obvious there is zero scientific evidence that this works, but there is evidence that this risks fracturing your face and causing permanent damage.
The face and the facial skeleton is covered with a lot of blood vessels. So if you get a bleed in a particular area, it could cause airway obstruction, suffocation, and blindness. If you hit particular arteries and veins in certain areas, nerve damage.
Hormone maxing, you know, this is taking testosterone, TRT, DHT derivatives, peptides, often without medical supervision, just buying it online from some dodgy, unrated.
Why are young men T-maxing testosterone? Do they need it? And what are the risks? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Regulated lab abroad. And again, like I keep saying, if you have low testosterone or you're aging or something, there might be a valid reason to take testosterone, but there is no reason for a 14-year-old boy with regular testosterone levels to be taking testosterone.
If I go blind from LooksMaxxing my face, tell me it worked. Okay, you got it.
Such as Clavicular, who, if you look at his face, have a guess how old he is. That boy's 19. He was doing testosterone since 14. And for him...
That's the other thing about T is... testosterone rapidly ages you. Okay? For those of you who don't know, if you take testosterone, if you take steroids, it will accelerate your aging dramatically. And this is pseudoscientific, what I'm about to tell you, is that if you have any sort of conditions that are supposed to come out later in life, you also have the capacity to accelerate those medical illnesses, medical conditions as well. Who gave him testosterone at 14? He did. All of this stuff is like readily available and accessible on the internet. Only if you abuse. Come on, man. No. Unless you have... No, it's DIY. That motherfucker can get TRT at 14, but trans people can't get hormone blockers at 14. You think that motherfucker got TRT from the doctor? He's doing DIY. What you should be saying is everybody was yelling at DIY when trans people were talking about doing DIY hormones and stuff over the, like, trying to get it with like Chinese peptides or whatever. Meanwhile, these guys are doing it to themselves. They're doing DIY, but that's it. So stupid.
Why he's particularly a case study is because when he talks about why he's doing this, he says that it's an investment into being better looking because good looking people have better outcomes in their life. He's basically selling young kids like a neoliberal economic ideology, applying it to their faces. For fuck's sake, is there anything capitalism will keep its grubby hands off? He claims that 35 grand he's spent on this shit is a worthwhile financial investment into his future because it will give him more opportunities. And he openly admits not caring about longevity and his health.
I'm not a huge longevity guy.
And like, I would say probably the most extreme of all this stuff is height maxing, where again these guys have convinced themselves that women only date 6 foot men, despite the average man being like 5'9" or 5'10". Why 6 foot? Well, because they've never spoke to a woman, and 6 is a nice round number. So some of these lot have taken to getting on a plane, flying out to Russia, Turkey, or Poland to have both of their femurs broken and then lengthened with metal magnetic rods. Some of these guys stay in the hospitals for 6 months on crutches, and it can take like a year year to relearn how to walk, all for an extra 5 centimeters of height. And obviously, I don't need to say it, this surgery is highly controversial. It's widely illegal, and the pain is unimaginable. This surgery, it's gone wrong a bunch of times, leaving people in severe pain. And the most tragic part of all of this is at the end of the day, users who go on these forums, these discords, in the eyes of their community, they will never be enough.
How long do you think it'll be before you're maxed? Do you think that's like a destination or is it a process?
I think it's more of a destination. There's really no end to it. Like,
there's no destination. There is no, it's body dysmorphia. He has tremendous body dysmorphia. Okay, that's it. So he will forever do different cosmetic procedures and like a whole bunch of different things unless he fixes what's going on up here. He is never going to be perfect. There's never going to be an end to it. And the end is the Bogdanov twins. Okay, I keep going back to the same thing, but there's a reason why people look like this. Okay, there is a reason why people end up looking like this. Okay, they look perfectly healthy and normal. Yeah, totally.
because you can get overly obsessive and like there's the whole never enough type of deal. I don't think that would ever be problematic for me because I'm very like logical with, you know, risk versus reward in terms of like.
That's crazy. He literally does meth. He is microdosing meth. You are not very logical with anything, okay? You started abusing steroids at the age of 14. What the is logical about that?
Like the hard maxing and stuff like that, I'll be like, okay, I'm at a place where I don't really need to do this shit anymore.
In the academic work that has been done on LooksMaxxing and like male body image, there's a term that often pops up, which is masculine demoralization. In this paper, which is called When Help is Harm, Health, Lookism and Self-Improvement in the Manosphere, they describe masculine demoralization where they say men are told that they deviate.
Yeah, and you take Zins? Yeah, exactly. I also drink a lot of coffee and do a lot of caffeine, which is the same as doing methamphetamines. Thank you. Microdosing meth isn't really any different than using Adderall. Yes, it is. What the are you talking about? It absolutely is. That's like saying taking Adderall is no different than drinking coffee. You're smoking crack, chatter. What is happening in this chat? What is happening in this community? What the he said crystal meth. You don't get crystal from an MD. You get it from a dealer. I know. I thought you didn't wear your hat backwards. I am for this episode. Just a bit, man. Everything in moderation. No, not everything in moderation. No crystal meth in moderation.
From accepted male beauty standards, that they have no hope for having a romantic or sexual relationship, and that they are failures as...
Yeah, the amphetamine salts, 4 different kinds, are not meth. Soda. Yeah. Meth has tremendous adverse effects, dude. Like the meth that we're talking about as the street level drug. Crystal meth. It's called Dizoxin. I'm being responsible. You're being responsible with your meth? An Adderall vape would go crazy. Hey, so this is just called smoking meth.
Men. LooksMaxxers have created their own archetype, their model of masculinity. A specific, objective model that they claim is objective beauty of what women...
I looked it up. Dizoxin, methamphetamine hydrochloride, is a powerful central nervous system stimulant available by prescription for specific medical conditions, though it is not a common treatment for option due to its high potential for abuse and dependence. Dizoxin is available only through a doctor's prescription, which cannot be refilled. It's typically a last resort medication used when other safer treatments have been unsuccessful. How cracked out on ADHD do you have to be that they literally give you like a controlled version of methamphetamine?
Find attractive based on what they, men, think is attractive. And obviously you might hear that and think, well, there's a tension there where these men who fear looking feminine, that's a big problem. They don't.
Stream meth includes both chiral structures of meth and causes massive side effects. Yeah, you lose your teeth, okay? It rots your teeth, for example. I'm a chemist. Chirality is basically the inverse structure of a chemical. I think your generation is just anti-meth because of Breaking Bad. What? No, because it's really bad. What is happening? Okay, I'm realizing that 90% of the time when I'm arguing with chat, I'm just arguing with people not because they have like a significant ideological disagreement or I've offended their worldview in some way. It's just because they love to argue.
don't want to look feminine. They don't want to be feminine. They want to be masculine. But there's this tension between idealizing masculinity, being subservient, obsessive over it, entirely rejecting one's own femininity, doing all of this whilst trying not to come across slightly homoerotic and slightly feminine themselves. Take the term skin maxing, right? Skin maxing. What is that? Skincare, right? That's what women do. They look after their skin.
Yeah, there's also this like incredible insecurity surrounding like coming across as like not masculine, that you have to talk about everything in like video game terminology. A lot of these young men, I think, young boys, are autistic to a certain degree, alienated, isolated, and basically have to treat everything like a video game.
Is skincare. But obviously they need it to sound manly, so they call it skin maxing. Cosmetic surgery is referred to as hard maxing. Grrr, calm down, tough guy. The entire community has to code everything in like a male sounding way in order to make them feel okay about doing it. And even in these communities, they will admit,
yeah, it's like baking. Baking is not gay, bro. Baking is not gay. It's like chemistry. I'm actually chem-maxing, dude, when I'm baking. It's like, dude, just bake. Who gives a f***, dude? The hell's wrong with you? Dude wipes. Dude wipes. It's for my pussy, but it's dude wipes. It's cool. It's I'm oven maxing, dude. Yeah. I'm not baking. I'm oven maxing.
That if you get too much surgery and it becomes obvious that you're getting surgery and people can recognize it, then you risk looking like you care too much about your looks, and that means you might come across feminine. The entire thing is just an obsession with their perception from other people. And it's ironic because if you're meant to be the Giga Chad tough guy, the whole point is you shouldn't care about what other people think of you. What masculine demoralization is the continuous denying of masculinity for other men. So if you're on one of these discords, right, and you rate someone's PSL as subhuman, you are saying,
my boyfriend says he does bitch's hair because he doesn't want to call himself a hairdresser. Let me find out. That's so funny. You're a hairdresser. Why are you worried about appearing like a certain type of way, man? Just be confident in what you're doing.
To them that man is unattractive to women.
Unironically, that comes across like he's a diva. Tell your boyfriend that makes him sound, if that's his fear is coming across as feminine or, you know, gay or something, right? Oh, I'm doing bitch's hair. I'm doing my bitch's hair today. Okay. Just lean into it. Just say you're doing girly pop hair time, okay? Just lean into it fully. You sound sassier when you say you're doing bitch's hair. I do bitch's nails instead of I work at the Mac counter. You can't say the B word and have the backwards hat. Pick one. True. I just realized dropping the hard B while wearing a backwards cap is basically going to cause like 25 TikTok videos from people being like, you see? I knew it. I knew it. Look at him. He's wearing the same hat that all of the disgusting pig men that ruined my life, that treated me in the worst ways possible. He is reminding me of those men right now. This guy sucks. I knew it. I'm bro-maxing.
And being unattractive to women will make you a virgin for the rest of your life. And if you're a virgin for the rest of your life, you're not a real man. And that's like the darker psychology of this, right? Is that in a weird way, these people on these forums who are dishing out abuse, and my God, if you see some of the comments, it really is abusive, the shit they say to each other. The person dishing out the abuse feels some kind of power because they position themselves as the arbiter of what is masculine. By simply calling someone a subhuman, they're able to deny someone else's masculinity. And then if you dish out some advice, what they should do to improve their face, you feel a little power trip because you're making them conform to what you think they should do. Often users of these forums talk about how negative it is on their mental health, but they get addicted to these forums, spending hours and hours every day, despite the irony that the whole point is so that young men can quote unquote ascend and raise themselves up as men to have better lives, be healthier, make more money, meet women, etc. In reality, these forums only really have a negative effect on the users. At the very extreme end, it pushes users to do self-harm. whether it's things like bone smashing or literally using the euphemism to rope, which means that if someone is so ugly and they have no hope in life, that they should use a rope. You know, you can figure out what that means. Ultimately, that's the thing, right? This ideology doesn't want you to feel better. It wants to put you on a treadmill, trying to grasp at what anti-feminoid 14 thinks is beautiful. And it might all sound confusing. You might be like, why do they put themselves through this? But that right there touches on the deeper psychological trap that gets people.
The question is, do you want a guy, like, do you want to f this guy that we saw yesterday, Stale 2000? Because the guy on the other side of that anonymous account, he looks like that. He looks like this. This is what that guy looks like. The guy who's talking big shit looks like this. So unless you want to f this guy, or unless you want to appear f to that guy, you shouldn't worry about what that guy has to say. That's the most turked up version of you? True. I was LooksMaxxing.
Addicted to this, which is the need for control.
It is pro and a Tumblr.
There's a
for
reason
men.
that the types of lads that are drawn to these forums often have like very analytical, almost engineering style of thinking. Because LooksMaxxing, what it offers that type of person is a simple premise.
It's so funny. He's trying to do the polite way of saying everyone on these forums are autistic as hell. Analytical. Yeah, buddy. We know what you're trying to say. Because it's true. Like, straight up. Too much mommy Tylenol consumption, okay?
Dating feels unpredictable, but it's not. It's based entirely on looks. And looks are objective. And through LooksMaxxing, you can improve your looks. This is really appealing to people who, you know, if they feel uncomfortable in certain social situations, which is most people at some time. And also it appeals to those who maybe are a bit different and maybe don't fit in to the groups of people they see in their schools or workplaces. And I notice when you watch a lot of these LooksMaxxing documentaries and the interviews, it does just seem like some of these kids are maybe on the spectrum, like autistic or Asperger's or something like that. There was this one guy in one of these interviews that was talking about getting leg lengthening surgery. He really had convinced himself that all of life's problems were the fact that he
Never mind, he said it.
wasn't 6 foot.
Also, was that like a British way of saying Asperger's? I'm so confused by what that term was. Spurgus. Wait, what is... We got to make sure LooksMaxxing doesn't become a school shooter pipeline, brother. It already is. What do you mean we got to make sure it doesn't? It already has been there.
Or something.
This is interesting. I had a relatively long torso, so my torso is longer than my legs. When I was sitting down, I noticed that there was a different attitudes compared to when I was standing up.
It's like people assumed you were taller when you were sitting down.
Yes.
And then when you kind of revealed your actual height, they acted differently.
Yes. They started just ignoring you, they stopped cutting your conversation.
But the thing is, when you heard him speak, he just sounded
crazy. Like I'm short as when I'm sitting down. I have long ass legs. I do not have a very long torso. This has never changed the way people interact with me, okay? That is crazy. That's just your perception. Who cares?
Someone who maybe struggles a little bit socially and might find it hard at first to connect with people. And that's a really sad thing.
High-waisted trousers, they will make you look taller. Are you telling me that? I don't think I need to look taller.
Is that there's loads of people just like him. And had this guy found his group of people that he clicked with, had he found his hobbies, his interests, he might have eventually found a group of people that made him feel valued and that he belongs. And like, you know, that's the beauty of being in your 30s is you've grown through this phase. You know, when I was younger, I was never really like the football lad, but luckily I kind of found my tribe of people in the parkour world. They're all hippies, they're all very creative, very expressive types of people. And from there, I felt like I belonged and I was able to develop my personality and my confidence, which then gave me more opportunities when it come to meeting my wife. And I think that's the real thing that we have to do. Like with young kids, young people, we have to help them find where they belong so they can find themselves, who they are, become confident in themselves. But sadly, instead, a lot of these lot being attracted to role models online who ultimately, like at the end of the day, whatever advice they give them, are kind of just trying to build their own brand, build their own business and sell shit.
Now there are two ways to do this, and that is the rich and poor person version. And when literally needling your face, to be honest, I prefer to go with the more expensive option. But if you don't really care, you can simply just pick up a $15 one from Jeff Bezos.
A lot of these people offer very concrete sounding answers, simple explanations for very complicated social problems. problems. That can be very appealing. It tells people that they don't need to deal with the uncertainty of dating. They don't have to worry about, you know, the chaotic nature of chemistry or the vibe. They don't have to worry about the element of luck that comes into it.
I kind of want to watch this video from this guy as
or
well.
The vibe. They don't have to
HTN.
worry about.
You're a regular good-looking guy. This is where sexual attraction starts. And HTN will have had a few sexual partners and some LTRs. What is a LTR? Will probably be the best looking guy in an average social circle, may struggle to slay quality girls from a club, occasionally gets lucky, long-term relationship.
The element of luck that comes into it. All these scary variables that can't be controlled. And it's this type of thinking, this controlling, hyper-analytical, and biologically determinist way of seeing the world that not only ruins their attitude to dating, but can also destroy your entire worldview.
With 6 of its students dead, the University of California, Santa Barbara community is in mourning. The gunman who methodically planned the attack
this is Elliot Rodgers.
chronicled his descent into a deranged rage. How did this young man, who seemed to have everything, become a mass murderer?
The incel shooter, who I won't name, you're probably aware of him, spoke frequently
What?
of
Wild feed,
visiting
it continues. He walks out with a full SS
He was
later.
completely indoctrinated into this world. Ultimately, at an incredibly young age, deciding that he had no hope with women for the rest of his life, becoming deeply filled with hate and going on a killing spree. This nihilistic worldview is radicalizing people, young people, and it's also creating a direct funnel from incels to Nazism. Because, like, think about it, if you're told that the entire dating world is determined by your biology, then is it really that much of a big leap to say that the entire world is determined by biology? That there's
that's the connective tissue right there to right-wing politics, right-wing worldviews. By the way, that's how you turn into a Nazi, because it's like genetic predeterminism. There's like a biological underpinning to the entire argument, eugenics, all of that. That's how you get on the pipeline.
defected, weak, impure genetics, which are causing all of the world's problems. Is it any surprise that people like Nick Fuentes come from the world of incels? And oh, look who we did a live stream with. Oh, that's surprising, isn't it? What a massive surprise. Lots of the LooksMaxxing theories have their roots in the pseudoscience of eugenics.
In Europe, eugenics wasn't just some science experiment in a lab. First of all, in America is where it started. And secondly, it was created to offer some kind of pseudoscientific justification for chattel slavery. And last but not least, it's bullshit. You're ascribing real social stigma and real social rules to basically aesthetic traits. You're deciding that there is a far more consequential outcomes for you off of very marginal and utterly irrelevant genetic differences. Like the whole point is, yeah, some people have different color skin. It's not that consequential. It's not that big. It's not like that. It's not a massive difference in what your life is going to look like until you socially construct a different value system off of it. It was how society evolved. Attractive women were more likely to be chosen by powerful men. Yes, Europe wasn't the only place, but they were the harshest. Less attractive women often got pushed out socially and quietly over time. This meant only certain traits kept getting passed on. Yeah, that's why every European is super hot. This guy, men were judged too, but women faced it harder because they were selected by appearance way more often. This pressure has existed for hundreds of years. That's why today you often see a higher ratio of physically attractive women in European populations. Mixed eugenics with mixing with other European ethnicities. Most Europeans you see today. What? Excuse me. Why that tone? Because attractive people exist everywhere. There are attractive. First of all, attraction or attractive traits are also socially assigned. It's not like this design is unchanging. It's totally subjective. It changes throughout culture, and it changes throughout time, even in the same place that you exist in. Other places like India has had its own version of eugenics, but it looked different. Instead of filtering through looks, it was filtered through caste and through arranged marriage. The system wasn't based on raw attraction. It was about social order, family, honor, religion. That means even if someone wasn't considered physically attractive, they still had a chance to marry and have kids. So yes, eugenics was there, but it was light eugenics. It wasn't obsessed with beauty or performance the way the West became later on. Now fast forward to today, the West is doing eugenics again, but this time it's not government policy. It's happening through dating culture, apps like Tinder, social media filters. Bro, this is crazy.
Eugenics. Hitler used the term subhumans. He also had his whole worldview around the perfect archetypal Aryan man. This is a structure of thinking that can be sold to people who feel their position in society is insecure and that they want to feel in control. And as our world is in an increasingly insecure economic and geopolitical time, where you as a young man have always been told you need to grow up and be a real man, and you're told historically that real men dominated and ruled the entire world, but there you are, a little wage cuck at Amazon who hasn't spoken to a woman or even another person in the last 2 weeks. You feel small, and so the draw to feel like a strong, powerful man is alluring. The idea of returning humanity into like a Darwinistic natural order where men are in charge by birthright. I will not be surprised if the next evolution of LooksMaxxing will be to far-right political ideology.
So we got Nick Fuentes here. We're going to be discussing the disenfranchised young men.
20, 30 years. The people that are the most persistent, that want it the most, the highest IQ, the truest believers, if they keep their views and they ascend up the ladder, in 20 or 30 years, it's all people that were influenced by me that are running the GOP.
Now look, man, I don't think that we can solve this stuff by just telling people and explaining why concepts like masculinity are very complicated. Even if you can demonstrate how gender roles shift massively throughout history, how Prince was a sex symbol, and how powerful, wealthy aristocrats were putting on makeup, wearing wigs and wearing tights. Even if you explain all that stuff, and even how very rigid ideas on how a man should be might be the thing that holds you back from actually finding love, doesn't matter if you tell people this. It doesn't matter if it's true, because you are trying to tell young men who can see with their own two eyes that the world that they live in constantly rewards brutal, cruel, strong and powerful men. And at the heart of it, people want to feel like they matter. So personally, I think the only solution is rebuilding society from the ground up. Building a society that values every single member of it, that gives each person,
No, I think the answer is get a job. That's what I think. Government mandated jobs, okay? Government jobs program, everybody gets a job. You can just like go around and pick leaves or something on the sidewalk if you can't find anything else that you feel comfortable doing. You get paid well. You got something. You got something going on for you. Yes, 0% unemployment. Everybody gets a job. Everybody feels fulfilled. Everybody has a role to play in society. So they can't do this shit, okay? This is joblessness. This is joblessness. As the chatter brings up, this is one of my... I'm a big fan of your military becomes construction workers take. Yep. I talked about this quite a bit. We already have a jobs program. It's called the military. But instead of killing people, okay, we're just building shit. We're building all the time. We're building Chinese style. We're building so much that it's basically China up in this bitch. Okay? That's what we're doing. We're build maxing. No more do we have any infrastructure issues. We're building shit all the goddamn time. Yeah, fill all the potholes, call it pothole maxing, okay? Oh no, there's not enough houses. Guess what, bitch? We're building more houses, okay? We're building houses. I don't think you appreciate how hard construction is. No, it is hard. You know what would make it easier? If the job site, instead of having 10 people, had 25 people. Then you can share the burden. Building everything but rail? No, we're building rail. We're putting rail down like crazy. We're maxing out on the rail too. We're rail maxing. As a carpenter, please. Forcing people into labor? What could possibly go wrong? Weird take, dude. Wait, what? Dog, the military already exists. The same coercive mechanisms of coercion that cause people to go and sign their life away to the goddamn Department of Defense, now called Department of War, okay, could be could work to do something much more reasonable, something much more beneficial for everybody.
Regardless of how sick they are, gives every single one of them a dignified existence and some position in society with some responsibilities. We need to build sociable places and give people the time and the money to be sociable. We need to encourage young boys and young girls to mix at an early age, doing activities together, sports, art, dancing, all this sort of stuff. As a culture, we love to always do men things and women things, but you are alienating people from each other, and then they fail to understand each other. The way we stop young men falling into this shit is by working together to rebuild a society that is connected, that values each other, and that doesn't turn every single part of life into a hyper competitive market. But yeah, while we continue to create jobs that pay shit and we continue to pay the people who actively help society shit,
nurses are going in, they're going in hungry, having to use food banks themselves, not being able to turn the heating on. They're going to care for their patients, but nobody's caring for them.
whilst rewarding and aggrandizing criminals, abusers, and clout chasers, we will continue to make a culture that drives young people into darker and darker corners. If you enjoy this video, consider supporting me on Patreon. Just want to give another thanks to Elite Hair for sponsoring this.
Yeah, Hitler was a PSL 1. He was not a LooksMaxxer. Hitler was PSL 1 for sure. He was not a Chad. He wasn't even like a low tier normie. He was totally, what's the lowest of the low you can be? He was subhuman. You shouldn't follow Adolf Hitler because he was ugly as sin. Hitler got mocked by Stalin. It's true. It's true. Lenin was hot too. Lenin was like at least a 7 on the PSL. Both Clavicular and Hitler did meth. Okay, they were both meth maxing. I do sometimes like to look at like younger versions of people who obviously we only know as like at the peak of their infamy or fame. And it is kind of strange, but when you look at like young Trotsky, young Stalin, like they were hot, dude. Mao Zedong too. Young Mao, he was hot. Obviously, Tito has the classic photo, ultimate Chad. I'm sure you've seen this photo before. I mean, he was literally like Chad jawline. Look at this. Look at that, dude. Come on. Did he chew gum 24/7? Yeah. Yeah, he was mewing. He was mewing like crazy. The classic one is obviously Fidel and Che. Everybody knows both Fidel and Che were sexy as hell. But young Tito, a lot of people don't know, was also so hot. Young Mao also was sexy. Was decent looking. At least the way that people describe him as I mean, the statue is obviously they bass boosted it a little bit, but he was sexy by Chinese standards at the time, like, or at least that's the way they report on it. Trotsky was lights out hot. Yeah, Trotsky was hot too. Young Trotsky. They glaze in low key. Young Trotsky does kind of look like Adam a little bit. Those glasses aren't helping. Those glasses are so crazy. Look at young Zhou Enlai. Pince nez, literally pinch nose. Uncle Ho is Rizzy too. Oh, Uncle Ho Chi Minh. Yeah, I think he was attractive. I mean, we're getting to a point where it's like young Xi Jinping. Look at that. Look at that. He was a fine shit, dude. This is my favorite photo because he just loves infrastructure, man. Hottest dude in the chemical engineering and Marxism class.